Okay, guys, so my sunflower did not work out. And I think a big part of it is I haven't caned in so long that I kind of was out of practice. And that's why I say to people, like, don't start with the hardest flower out there. Start with more something simpler and work up. It takes some practice getting used to. And I haven't, other than that one flower I made a couple months ago, I really haven't caned since last summer, like consecutively. So I'm out of practice and I need to get back into practice. So I'm just going to start by making a simple, six-petaled flower with a small center and then, work up from there. So I think color-wise, this is what I'm going to go with. So I have some red. This is all Primo, and I'm going to try Primo instead of Cernet today to see if that deals better in my climate. So I have some orange, some of their, I believe it's cad red, and then some of the cad yellow. So I don't know how much that is. And I'm going to mix this up. And then I have some orange with a tiny little bit of red. I have their plain red. And then I was going to take like some kind of brown, which is what I was started here, and mix it in with some red so I get a deeper red. And that way I have like an orange. This right here will turn up to something like this. So I don't know. See that? This will just be slightly tinted. So this will be like an orange red. And then we'll have true red and dark red. And we'll probably do white too. So I'm not going to use any of that yellow scrap, which I have a bunch. So this is my sunflower cane. Again, not really impressed with it at all. But it was really like processed cheese slices soft. So I think I struggled with it. So I'm not going to use any of that yellow scraps or anything that I have from that. I mean, it's so sticky. It's like, it's really odd feeling. So I'm going to leave that for the, winter time, and I can use yellow in the winter. Anyways, I'm going to mix these up. Again, I'm going to find a brown. I'm not going to use the brown I was using in that video, but I'm going to like mix in a little bit of brown with this, or a dark color, just to tint that into a deep red. But if you have a deep red color, go ahead and use that. And I'll be back when those are mixed and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so here are my colors. So this is true red. This is red, orange, and yellow. Red with a little brown. This is orange with that little tap of red. And then I actually did some orange with about 50-50 orange and yellow. And I think I'm going to use these colors and, I don't know, do something with it. I don't really do much with red, I feel like. And I actually might get rid of the true red. I might get rid of the true red. Just because I feel like it. Okay, so in this one, we're going to do kind of like the sausage flower cane that we did, the blue one, but in kind of a lighter version of that. Not lighter, but less detailed flower. So pretty much all you're going to do is make sausages. And you want to make them long because we're going to cut this in half. And, play around with this, and you can randomly do it. I'm going to randomly do it. So pretty much we're just going to make sausages. And I don't know, let's put this one. I mean, you could roll all this into a log first, for sure. I'm just going with it because we're going to skin or blend, or we're going to blend it out after. So pretty much just stick them together like this in lengths. You could cut it all off at the end. You don't need to. Okay, and maybe a light orange. There's many ways to get, a variation in a petal. There's a lot of different ways. In some ways, you like, oh, that petal looks like that petal, and they went about it in 2 or 3 different ways. But the veining looks the same. So there's a lot of ways to go about things. Good. Maybe a dark. And some can be skinnier, some can be fatter, depending how prominent you want the color to be. Good. This is going to be like an orange and yellow flower, which I really don't have much of. I mean, I guess actually I do. If I'm looking at my container I made quickly, that's orange and yellow. That's orange, yellow, and fuchsia. Orange, yellow, and fuchsia. So I do actually have a few. Stuck my nail in that. You know what, let me do this one. Enough. A jet just drove by, which is very odd for us, like a F something. What is it? F-14? What are they called? I don't even know. They're not around here. They're in Burlington, and they don't usually come around us, but it was so loud. One of my dogs was out, and he started barking to come in, like he was scared, almost like if fireworks were going off. He was freaking out. And one more light orange. Actually, let's do one more of these, because I have it. Let's do that one there, and then we'll do this one here. And again, I'm not doing this in any particular order. I'm just kind of going for it today. And we'll see if I can even get it to do what I want it to do, because the other day it was so soft. Making that other cane, everything was smearing so bad, even just manipulating it. Okay, so light, dark, regular, regular. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is cut this in half, roughly in half. And again, you should be able to put your head right above what you're cutting in half, but my camera's right there, so I cannot. And then we're going to stick it together like this. And we're going to roll it through the pasta machine just like this to elongate it. So from this side to this side, not from here to here. So we're going to put it through the rollers over here. I hope that will fit in my pasta machine, actually. Because I have the 150. So it means it's a little narrower. The Atlas 150. I'm just going to kind of squish it together a little bit. That should fit. Let me see. Yep, that should fit. And this clay is really soft, so I didn't roll it out at all. These sausages aren't that fat. Just like that. And this is how we did that blue flower a long time ago, pretty much just like this. And all we're going to do is continue folding up, trying to keep the colors on the colors, but it's not, you do want it to blend a little bit, so it's not that critical. Okay, just like that. So fold it up. And if it's getting too long, you can always push the ends in or just kind of smush it together a little bit to fit in your machine. I don't like to have this big of a blend normally, this wide of a blend. As you guys know, I usually squish my sides down. Okay, I'm going to run that back through again. And we'll do this a few times just to get them to blend a little bit, but we still want to leave the stripes. And again, I'm going to kind of smush it in, because this was from one end of my machine to the other end. So every time you fold it, it's going to widen it a little bit. So I'm going to just smush it a little bit each time so it fits through my machine. And in a few passes, you'll start to see it start blending just a little bit. See, we're starting to have some blending going on there. And if your lines aren't straight like this, if it flares out on one end, You can always just kind of manipulate it to be a little more straight and then fold it. And we'll go in a few times like this. Let's see, that's a little wide to fit in my machine. Until you're kind of think it will look cool, you know? I mean, that's everybody's personal preference is going to be a little different on this. Not that these are my favorite colors either. You know? But this will be, I think, a cool, like, fall color for sure. Might be a cool, like, they're kind of like Black-Eyed Susans, but a red version. You know, it might look cool if we make something looking like that. But you are allowed to have an artistic license and make up your own damn flower. There will always be those people that when you go, this is my version of a this or that, they'll go, well, that doesn't quite look like what I have in my yard. You know, and it's like, well, there's tons of variations, one, and that was just my inspiration. It doesn't mean I was planning on making it exactly. Or maybe you were and it didn't quite work out to be exact. That's totally fine. I mean, what we envision all the time does not work out in the clay. For really experienced people who are going to draw, you know, take a photo as a reference and lay everything on a photo, that works. But if you're just going for it, you know. I think I'm going to end it here. I think I like that. Yeah, I think I like that. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold this. And we're going to try to fold it because we cut those sausages in half. You know, we cut them in half and set it. There should be repeating colors here, or a repeating pattern at least. So what we're going to do is try to look for a similar color to a similar color. Now these would have blended, so you're really not going to get exact color with exact color. So let me just kind of roughly see if I fold that one there, and then that to the red, and that to red. Okay, so you see there's orange here, and this would have been true orange right here, but it started to blend. So we'll go like this, and then I'll fold this red end to roughly around this red end. And then this side is a little yellow, so we'll try to set them on each other. Just as close as you can. It's not like it needs to be perfect. And then we have red and yellow. So there's yellow and there's red. What if we... So this yellow is going to fold with this yellow. Can we get that red to the other red without... Yep, just about. And then see if we can bring this over to this color. Yep. Okay, and then we have a log. Now, we're going to leave it as a log. I'm just going to try to push out some air from the middle to the end. From the middle to the end. But when the clay starts to get really sticky, a lot of air gets trapped inside. I'm just going to kind of try to even this to make it the same width all the way down. So we kind of have something like this. I haven't made this cane in forever, other than that blue one. Okay, and then we're going to cut this in however many you can. So let's see, got about 6 inches here. So let's do 2, 4, 6. Let's just do 3 pieces. 2, 4, 6. So we'll cut this. And that. And so this is what we have now, okay? So you can put them together however you want. You know, you could put it together just like it is. You could flip them. You know, flip them. and put it together however you want. I'm going to probably just go with the way I cut it and keep this yellow on one end and those on the other. And don't cut off this distorted end because, you know, everything's going to distort later. And you might as well just keep it now. And then you're going to push this together. Now, you can keep doing that. Keep cutting it and stacking it just like this to make your lines finer. It's just the more times you do that, the finer things are going to get. So that's really up to you on your look, on what you want. So let me make this a little smaller. And I can see maybe if I want to cut it one more time or not. I kind of liked that lines I was getting right there. What's nice about this Cernit roller, this is a Cernit roller and I got it on Etsy. It's big. Trust me, it's way bigger than your acrylic rollers, but it's metal, so it always stays kind of cool to the touch. And I wish I would have shown the part in the sunflower cane because I'm deleting that video. It's not good. It's not good to teach people on. I'm keeping the center, which I'll show you the center video, but I'll make a sunflower later that I have worked out. That was just, I went through too many trials to show people for them to follow. But what I did show you is I did put it in the fridge. And my biggest thing about putting it in the fridge is I always get condensation. So I left it in the fridge for about 5 hours. And then at one point I did about 3 hours. Took it out and the outside gets all wet. It gets condensation on it. There becomes moisture on it. And then my clay starts, as you're working it, starts to be softer, warmer, and wet. And it just doesn't work for me. So every time clay's sticky and I say that, people will go, put it in the fridge. I do not like putting it in the fridge. But go ahead and try it and see if you do. So that's what our petal pattern will be unless you cut and stack again. But I actually kind of like it chunky like that. I think I like that. So then what we need to do is just bring this out to probably about 6 inches because I like to at least work in a 1-inch height. For the cane, I don't like to go any shorter than that. So 6 inches is generally my rule of thumb to cut 6 petals. I'll cut 6 1-inch petals. If you want 1.5 inch, well then you're going to obviously 6 1.5 inch petals, whatever length that is. So I'm just using my roller to reduce it down, trying to keep my hands off of it because this is really soft. You know, and you're going to get some distortion on these ends. You can always push it flat. But don't cut those off yet because we'll use those. And when you're put all your petals together and you're reducing your flower, this is a part of a petal that will end up being in your circle. That will end up being scrap anyway, so you might as well use it. Yes, it won't be usable no matter what right here, but it doesn't actually look that bad, especially if I cut that off just a little bit. So I'm not going to cut that off at this point. You could use an acrylic block if you have a long one to reduce a square. You could use Tiny Pandora's cane pairs or square pairs to reduce a square. I just tend to use a roller. Just like this. I think I'm at 6 inches yet. I could do 5 1-inch petals. But I don't really like, for some reason, I don't like 5 petal flowers. They just never look right to me. They just don't. I don't know why, but to my eye, I don't like 5 petals on a flower. I took one of my dogs to the vet last week, and I have to take the other one today. So I can't take them both. Diesel was 70 pounds last week, so it's like they're both roughly 70 pounds. It's just too much dog for me at the vet. I mean, they're not letting us in, but my AC in my car doesn't work very well. So then while we're waiting outside, I'm or I take them out of my car while we're waiting, and then they come and get them right now with coronavirus. Like, we can't go in, which is fine. They actually do well. I didn't think they would, but they do. One of my patients is a vet, and she says they have a dog they muzzle every time, and she came in like 2 days before I brought Diesel because he is not good with strangers, and she said they have a dog they muzzle every time, and then the lady just brought their dog in, and they didn't let her in because it's coronavirus. They just take the animal in, and she said that dog was the sweetest thing without the owner there. So that made me feel better of letting Diesel go in by himself, because normally, like if the mailman comes and stuff, he is not good. Even at the vet, I told him don't, because they came out to get him and we were outside, and I was like, don't come right up to him. He'll come up to you, but he doesn't like people to touch him right off. Strangers. Okay, I can cut these ends off a little bit because they did start to pull in quite a bit. So that won't be the same amount of clay if that pull in's there. So we'll do about that. Get my sharper blade. So let's see, let's cut this off. Well, let's do this first. The camera's right in my phone's right in my face, so I can't really get over this. And so for this small of a flower, I'm not going to really make a detailed center. Just because once they're reduced down, they really don't show up. I always close one eye when I do this. For some reason, I feel like I can see better. I don't know if anybody else does that. So I'm going to cut these ends off. So that's our kind of wavy. Oop, do I not do that one? No, I did. That's right there. 6, yep. I have a fly down here and it's driving me insane. So once we shape these into petals, that will kind of be our pattern. I'm probably going to let these rest just, 20 minutes or so. From all the mixing in the pasta machine, it is getting sticky. So I'm probably going to let them rest for about 20 minutes. And then I'll come back and we'll start shaping petals. But if you have a petal that you want to shape, go for it. If you have a design you want to do, I don't know, we might do 2 pointy ends. We might do a pointy end that goes towards the center and a round end. We might have an indent. I don't know. But I like that pattern. I think that might even just be a cool pattern on its own, Kind of looks like a flame. But I will be back. So I was video chatting with someone and I totally got distracted. And I was like, oh, I'll make a couple of them. And then I'll save one. And then I started my last one, so I'm sorry about that. So I think I'm going to go with this kind of petal shape. I don't know. Maybe I'll make them pointy. I don't know. So I do want to talk to you guys about what I see all the time. Now, this is something I see a lot. And if you want to make your flowers look like this, well, then great. But if you don't, there's a way you can. So I'm going to draw it quickly. What I see all the time with people's flowers, right, is they have a center. I'm just going to rough draw this, right? Then their petals look like this. Like literally like almost like the triangle we just made. You know what I mean? They just look like that. And I feel like the reason why they look like that is because people don't understand how to actually shape your petal. So if you start off with a square, what I feel like a lot of people are doing, and I might be wrong, is they shape their end, right? And they go, okay, let's make my petal, And they start, this is the scrap, right? And they start shaping it, and they make it look all beautiful, and then they do this end, and they make it look all beautiful, and then they go, okay, and they put their flower together, right? And on the ends, it looks really, really good. And then they start slicing into this, and they get a nice end slice, and they go, okay, that looks like a petal, cool. And then they get down to the middle, and they slice into it, and then it looks like a square. Or maybe they made the end a little, and then it looks like that, right? And it looks pointy, and it's definitely not a petal. The biggest thing is you guys got to shape all the way down the length. If you want it to be whatever shape you want it, it has to be done all the way down the length because you're going to cut this in slices all the way down. So, make sure you're doing your pointy side And look at it. If one side is depressed like this, well, when you slice into that, that's going to not be as pointy of an end. It's going to be more of a blunt end, like it would be more like that. So you have to look at it from all angles and try to make it the same even all the way across, okay? And that way it looks good all the way across. And these ones, I'm just kind of taking my 2 fingers and pushing in these corners just to round them. You can even round it on the table a little bit to get rid of those square corners. You know, you could do whatever you want with these to make them look as you want them. You could, again, make 2 ends pointy. You know, you could have both ends look like this if you want. You can have that groove in the middle that we've done before. And again, if you haven't seen my flower canes, click on my video. You're on my video, right? Obviously, you'd be watching this. My face right below this video. There's my name and my face, my photo. Click on my photo. Right up at the top, it's going to bring you to my page. There's a tab called videos. All my videos, when you click on that, will show up. And there's tons of flowers. So just check them out. And so you can really shape these any way you want. I think this actually will be kind of a cool flamage kind of flower. I'm not sticking them together yet because they're kind of cool or hot. So they're kind of sticky. And then just kind of set them together and take a peek at them. You want to make sure they're all kind of the same height as well. This way, from top to bottom. This one's a little squat, so I'm going to just kind of extend him out a little bit. But again, all the way down the length. If they're a little short, you can pull them. If they're a little tall, like they're more than an inch tall, you can always flatten it down. I think that will actually be a cool flower. Pretty much all we need to do now is get a center. But this is a small flower, so the center really won't be visible. I think actually... Now, you could have also done this yellow towards the middle too. That might have actually looked really cool. Look at that when I pull it that way. Ooh, you see that? From the folds, this is where we folded it, which is why it got that curved look. Oh, I should have done it that way. I kind of like the way that looks. Oh well. Okay, so now we need to get a center. I almost think I might do some kind of dark center, but I'm going to use scrap that I have. Just because I might as well. What's this? I don't know, this is some kind of gray. Has a little bit of like glittery stuff in it. I might use this. Just because I'm not going to use a whole new color. I'm not going to get out a new color. So pretty much all with this, you just have to make a sausage that will fit in there. And it's not going to be big. So what we can do to see how big we need it to be is, I'm trying to make a spot even here, is put 3 of these together. Like that. Make sure you look at them on both ends and make sure they look good from both sides. And then we can put these 3 together. This one's definitely a little taller. Maybe this one's actually a little short. Yeah, that one's a little short, so let me just make that one a little longer. And we can also take something round and kind of, if you want to, and kind of give yourself a spot to stick your center. I'm afraid I'm going to dent my ends because it's summertime. You know, it's the end of June, and the warmer it is, the more you get fingerprints and all kinds of weird stuff. So we need something about that skinny, watch, when you stick it together, about that size to stick in there. Yeah, that should be about good. It actually could probably be a little bit fatter. So let me take a slightly fatter piece. I have two blades out, and they're both quite dull blades, but this is sharper than this one. This is the first blade I ever bought. Honestly, you can hardly see the edge anymore. I've definitely sharpened it, but it's getting to the point where they only get so sharp, depending how old they are, before they take a lot of damn sharpening. And there's videos on how to sharpen blades, so. Or just spend a few bucks and buy one. So when you put this together, make sure you're putting it together evenly on both sides. Then you can kind of push in on the petals, but I'm grabbing the petals like this and kind of pushing them in a little bit. And pushing on the both, like the opposite ones almost. And obviously when we reduce it like this, that will compress any kind of little gaps in there. Hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so that's our flower. Now pretty much all we need to do is get some translucent together, or a color. You could do like a black background or something, and backfill this. So I'm going to get a bunch of translucent. I should probably wipe my hands off so I don't get this, because there's, see the orange on my fingers. So let me get some translucent out. I'm probably going to use Cernet just because it is one of the clearer translucents. Yeah, I will be back. I think I'm going to do, before I go more into another complex flower, because this helps build your confidence when you can do a basic little flower. This is going to look so much better than that. This just did not work out. And it took a whole, this was like 4 inches. This one is only about 2 inches. That one was about this big. It's like 4.5 inches to start with. So it took probably like 7 or 8 blocks of clay, including the translucent. So these build your confidence. Doesn't take too much clay at all. I mean, I still have a whole bunch up there. So now we got to backfill it. So here's some translucent I have. And pretty much all I'm going to do is make triangles, and that way we'll fit it in there. So take your 2 fingers, and if it's you're pushing down to your tile, it's going to do something like this. So just push down to your tile. This is just a little sausage of it, and make it into a triangle. There's many ways you can backfill, and I've actually probably showed you 2 or 3 different ways to backfill over, you know, the last year I've been making videos, 1.5 years or so. It just kind of depends what kind of mood I'm in. So I'm trying to get this triangular. You can flip it and do the same thing. You know, the reason why we didn't do the cane challenge is because canes do take up a lot of clay. And there were a few things I was seeing repeatedly on my Facebook page, is that people were having a hard time buying clay, getting clay, depending on their region, like everybody was out of stock type thing. And people were out of work, so money was tight too, and probably still is, because a lot of people, at least in our state, you know, like like the food industry is still not back to fully working. So I'm going to skip the cane challenge this year. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't make a cane a week and post your picture, but I'm not going to actually like make it like a time frame of us going, okay, we're making a cane a week. Please share if you'd like to. I just think that's too much because there's a lot of people who do want to do it, but I mean, I got financially really tight there, and if it wasn't for one really kind lady helping me out, I don't think I would have made my mortgage that first month at all. So the next thing I'm going to do, if I just stick this in here like this, you see how our petals are more rounded? So I'm going to try to make this more rounded by sticking my fingers. You know, you can do it when it's down. Usually I would kind of just pinch these in, and you're going to try to indent this center part where this bulbous part of our flower will go. So we want it to kind of round more, the translucent. So I'm just going to take my fingers. Let me do it on the end so you can see that. And then take the bottom and kind of pull it out a little bit. So that way when I stick it in here, see the curve? Now that's a little tall, so I'm going to push down a little bit. My point is a little tall. So I'm just going to push it down, flare this bottom out a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that swoop there. See? You could set it right down in there. Just like that. So backfilling is really important because wherever you don't have translucent is where your petal is going to want to go into. So my petals will go into this spot right here that's open. They're going to actually fill that in. So if I wanted to prevent that, then I should have made this point. I should have kept it slightly pointier than what I did. So I may want to pay attention to that on this next one. So again, we're going to take a piece of this just general triangle, and we'll work on one at a time. And we'll do the same thing to all of them before we move on to doing anything else, because it gives it support. So when you grab it and pick it up, you're actually, the translucent helps support your petals so you don't kind of distort them. I'm going to pull these ends out so that way hopefully I can get them to meet a little bit in the middle. It's hard because everything's so sticky that once you set it in there, you're kind of stuck. In the winter, usually you can pull your translucent out and manipulate it more and put it back in. But right now, with how humid it is in Vermont, you're kind of stuck on wherever you stick it. I want to get that point down in there. There we go. See that? So we're almost making like little T's or something, you know? It's actually pretty easy to do. Just start out with a triangle and then manipulate each one. So I'll probably fast forward this part and I will be back. Okay, so they're all filled in. And pretty much all of it's covered. These are pretty much up to the height. So I'm just going to wrap a little bit of translucent around just so I don't indent these. And all I did was ran whatever I had left. I didn't want to open a new pack. So if I would have had enough to have this on setting 0, I would have done setting 0. Enough to get it around was setting 3. So mine's on setting 3. But if you have enough to get it on a thicker setting, then do it. I just, like I said, I wasn't going to open a new pack just for this last little part. So I'm just going to make one straight edge because I know this is a little wider than what my cane actually is. And that way I can make it flush with one edge and then cut off any excess on the top. So all we will do is wrap it. Orange on my finger. And you could have made this edge flat too, but I want to make sure I have enough. All the way around, and I did have enough. Can I pull that back a little bit? Yep. So let's make this one flat. Good. And with this, because it's thin enough, I can actually see where to just rub it down the side. And put them together, and then any excess on the top here, I'll just slice off. Maybe I can save just a little bit of it. This blade is so dull. And then we're ready to reduce, pretty much. And because I just made this in about an hour and a half, all of this clay should be around the same softness. So the way we reduce a circle is by using either our pointers or our middle fingers and thumb. Let me just wipe that. So the big goal is just be, every time you tap, you want to start in the center, and that way we're pushing any air from the center out the sides. And you only want to put about the same amount of pressure. Every time I'm tapping, you want to put about the same amount of pressure. If all of a sudden you, wherever your thumb is, like if it was on this petal, you're going to flatten that petal off. So just light taps, and mainly I'm using like this part of my pad and maybe this part. And I'm working in the center right now until I get a slight little depression. And you can feel it. See that? And then I'm going to work from the center up to the end. And if you want, you can use cane caps to help with distortion. And then I flip it, and then I'm going to work from the center up to the end. And I've showed you guys this before many times in my cane videos. The softer it is, I find the more distortion I actually get. So, and then I start back in the center. And then once I have a little waste, I go from the center up to the end. Flip it from the center. Up to the end. You can do a quick one roll just to even it off. You could try to push the ends a little flatter, but unless you're using something, or, I mean, really, I get a lot of distortion in the summer, less in the winter, but when they're really soft, I tend to get more air bubbles trapped because the clay sticks before you can push all the air out between like a fold or something, and I tend to get more distortion. But if you have those tiny Pandora cane caps, those would work really well, and she has videos showing you how to use them. I believe other people do too, but if Teresa, if you see this, send me some of those, or I'll buy them. I should buy them. I really should just buy some. I haven't. If I do spend money on anything, it's art supplies. I don't buy a lot of new clothes or get my hair done all the time or my nails done. I usually get my hair done once a year. In the spring, this spring I got 12 inches off, 9 inches off. So I usually let it grow out all year and get it cut and colored once a year. I do my own nails, so I don't really spend a lot of money on the excess stuff. You know, I make my own lunches most days, my own coffee in the morning before I leave. I don't, you know, buy that stuff. So I'd rather spend my money on art supplies than other things. You know, it's just what you like to spend your money on. You know, I have a 20-year-old car. It's not like I'm driving a brand new Mercedes or something. Well, there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, how do you get all these new art supplies? But yet they're probably driving a really nice car, or they're getting their hair and nails done all the time. And maybe they're not, maybe they just don't have any money, but you can, you know, a 2-ounce block of clay in my region is like $2, you know, or on Etsy. So that's a coffee. You know, you save yourself a coffee every day and make it at home, and there's money for your clay. And then you can pull on it a little bit. Might just go a hair smaller for my large one. But this one actually didn't take me very long, this whole cane. So far I'm probably at a full 2-hour mark, but that's because I was, like I said, video chatting with someone too. So then obviously before you cut this, you would let it rest. But because I want to get multiple sizes, I'm going to cut a hunk of this large off. This is my sharper blade. Pretty flower, huh? So that's our big. And then I will take this guy and continue reducing him down. So again, start in the middle. Don't cut your distortion off yet. You might as well just leave it until you're done reducing. Now, if you're going to want to slice this to make veneers, you do want to let it rest so you don't smear. That actually didn't smear too bad. It doesn't take much to go down. Usually I like the size of like a quarter, which is about what that is. A nickel and maybe a penny. I think a dime's usually a little too small, but you can make whatever sizes your heart fancies. I do a quick roll just to get my fingerprints out of it. What if I take this part here? And if you pull out on your blade a little bit, like out with both hands, it tends to cut better if things are sticky. So just put a little tension on it. There's the next size. That's a pretty flower, I have to say. And then we'll reduce this one down a little bit. Usually once I work from the end to the middle, I then roll like once or twice just to get my fingerprints out. But you, like I said, you can make as many sizes as you want. And let's see how much distortion I have here. So that's all distortion. That actually looks kind of cool. Might be cool for like lentil beads. So I probably won't cut much more of that off because I think the brown, I can kind of see it starting right under there. So I'll probably save that. So I just cut the ends off so I can get a picture of these. So there's one. And actually, this is usually the part that I take and I bake and then I put it in my book. And you guys have seen my book. So this I'll bake. You guys have seen my book. So I can... So this pattern we did is pretty much the same as this one. So I'll actually, when I bake these, tape these in my book. I just tape a piece. So let me get a tile. Do I have a spare tile? I have a whole bunch of clay sitting on all my tiles right now. Here's a tile. So I'll take that scrap, because this is that end. I'll bake that one. And I'll I'll take the scrap from this end and I'll bake this one. So, you know, in my book, they're not the most beautiful cuts, but they work enough for in the future for me to see. Now, when I wasn't recording myself, I kept those, so that way I knew how I made this. And if you want something in the future, then you can look back and go, oh yeah, that would look good with this project. But I have videos, so I can always just look back at my video and know how I made it. But most people aren't making videos. I really, for some reason, like that. It looks so like watercolory to me, which is what this whole petal looks like. I feel like it's a little tighter in this one. And again, you really, really, really should wait and let these rest a little bit so they stiffen up. The clay will stiffen up if it's not all warm from your hands. And so these are our 3 sizes. 1, 2, 3. Pretty simple, easy flower that I think looks really cute. So I am going to bake these and take a picture of these, and I think this video is pretty much done. I'll show you them bake so you can see when it goes translucent. While I'm waiting for those to bake, I'm taking the scrap end from my not so good sunflower cane, and I tried to cut some of the translucent off, and I'm taking this end. I'm going to roll it up in a ball. I did slice one of those off. And I'm going to lay some of these scrap end slices and see if I can get a cool looking back or bead. So I'm going to do that. Maybe a little bit more. Let's see if I can get some more off here. I don't want tons of yellow in it, but a little yellow is fine. Sometimes you can get some really cool lentils from your scraps, which I do all the time before I scrap it for good. As you guys know, if you follow me, you've seen me do that a million times. So let's get that in there while those are baking. Because I really like these ends for some reason. They're just kind of cool looking. So make it a ball and then just start sticking these pieces, this one fly in my basement. Because one of my dogs, he likes to sit in the doorway of the house. He likes to open the door because he gets too nosy. And he needs to go know what mom's doing in the house. So he likes to keep the door open. So he opens it all the damn time, and then a fly comes in, and then it ends up down in the basement with me. So I'm just sticking these on randomly. And because the background's translucent and a little bit of yellow, if some of that pops through, if I don't get it fully covered, totally okay. Or if they overlap, don't really care. Cool. I still have a couple more there, but let's... We can swirl that up. If I can find the acrylic block I just had out, like yesterday, right there. Let's see what we can get out of this. So just take a part of it and just start swirling it. And I'm keeping my pinkies flat on the table, and you're just going to go in one direction. I know Teresa Salgado just did a live on this. But I do this every time with my scrap ends of my canes. It's already swirling fast because it's really sticky and hot. I do this with scrap, any kind of scrap that I think might look cool. I swirl it up, and that's what I use for backings a lot of the time. And sometimes what I'll do is actually I kind of like that. I'll make it back into a ball and I'll swirl another part. But I actually kind of like it like that. Let's flatten it out. And we can use that as a backing. I think that's cool looking. You might not. You might go, what are you talking about, Katie? But I keep these in sheet protectors. So here's a couple I have. So here's one from that green flower. I did one from that brown. I just took up pieces, scrapped, or bad cuts, and I smushed them together. This is from a cane a long time ago we did, and I keep all of these weird distorted things for when I need backs. They're just the same sheet protectors I have for that I store my canes in. And then when I need a back, I have just a cool impressionistic back. And when this goes translucent, it's actually going to look pretty neat when all that white goes translucent, because this is Cernit translucent, so it looks more white. Some of that yellow will probably show in there. Look at that random, it looks like a painterly flower, like a watercolor. So I'm going to keep that for sure. I might use that on a backing if whatever I make with these flowers. I might do a translucent flower as well, because I've been thinking of a translucent flower. I kind of saw someone posted a picture of it. I don't know on what site or where or what popped up. And I want to try to make something similar. Looks cool. So anyways, those are still baking. I'll show you them when they're done, but pretty much the tutorial is done. Well, they're all baked. I only baked them for a quick half hour just to get in my book because I don't need strength. They're all baked. Looking good and ready to go. So I'll just tape them in. I might make another one of those. Those were fun. I might make another color option with maybe one of these more yellow and white I could do. That's maybe what I'll do. Sorry, I dropped my tissue on the floor. My dog was deciding to eat it like a dummy. I don't know where my tape is, but I'll tape it in there, and then I'll have another option of this blue cane. And they look different every single time, you know, they do. That cane looks totally different than that cane. Not that it's only a half flower, but it just looks different. The way the stripes look different. So every time you put it together, it's going to look different.